Has a new mystery team emerged as a potential suitor to steal Quentin Grimes away from the Philadelphia 76ers? That's what we're talking about here on today's show. A team that we had not previously thought was going to be in the running to land Quentin Grimes. Before I tell you who that is, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to all our real ones out there. We just surpassed 23,000 subscribers on the channel yesterday. Had a couple live shows on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, leading up to today. That really helped us get over that edge and push us past 23K. So I really want to thank everybody who has subscribed over the past week and everybody who watches this show every single day. Without you guys, really couldn't have the success that we do on the channel. If you're not subscribed, I encourage you to hit that sub button. Sixers content every single day from a lifelong Sixers fans for lifelong Sixers fans. So hit that sub button. Lock us in today. That mystery team I teased off the top is the Chicago Bulls. According to ESPN, they could be a team that looks to steal Quentin Grimes if they are not able to retain their own restricted free agent in Josh Giddey. Here's what Kevin Pelton of ESPN had to say. Although the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, about $14 million, is a viable offer sheet for Grimes, it's unclear which team might be willing to offer it. Most of the teams that have the MLE available don't have a need for Grimes. Chicago would actually make some sense, but the Bulls are busy dealing with Giddey's restricted free agency. So obviously Chicago has to deal with the Josh Giddey situation, but there's a good chance that he ends up leaving, and then all of a sudden their money opens up a little bit. They could look to bring in somebody like Grimes. And the Bulls have yet to come to terms with Giddey, very similar to the Sixers situation with Quentin Grimes. You look at some other restricted free agents across the NBA, Jonathan Kuminga with the Warriors, Cam Thomas with the Nets. Takes a little bit of time for these restricted guys to come to offer sheets with their teams. But the Giddey situation, a little more interesting than the Grimes situation. Now, they've obviously been talking a little bit, and Giddey's looking for a little bit more money than what Grimes is looking for. Giddey posted this on his Instagram just the other day, and if you can see with this picture of him in a Bulls uni, little hourglass emoji sitting right over there next to Giddey in the photo. What does that mean? Does he say time's ticking on a deal, Chicago? Hurry up, let's get this thing done or I'm out. I don't know. Can't read too much into what he truly means. Maybe he just means that a big season's loading in Chicago. Who knows? But the fact that they have yet to come to terms, he's posting this cryptic stuff on social media, paired with the fact that Giddey's apparently seeking over $30 million annually. A ton of money for, yes, a player who had a career year last year and looked really good for a Chicago Bulls team that wasn't very good. But look, the Oklahoma City Thunder traded him away and immediately won a championship, right? And now Giddey's out here asking for 30 M's a year. I get why he's asking for that. Again, he just had a career season. I mean, you look at his numbers, almost 15 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, had a very efficient season from the field. And if Josh Giddey's shooting 38% from three, I mean, that's a whole new ballgame for a player like him, who that's been his biggest weakness for much of his career. Now, Brian Windhorst on ESPN also talking about Giddey and the Bulls, saying that there's really no update on Josh Giddey. They're not coming to a deal anytime soon, from what I understand. So, takeaway from all this is that Giddey and the Bulls don't seem to be close to coming to an agreement. Is there a chance that he ends up signing with a different team? If he does, they could easily pivot to somebody like Quentin Grimes. Now, Quentin Grimes' market, what kind of is that? As we know, he was asking for $25 million. I don't think he's going to get $25 million. Mark Stein told us that he's looking for more in that $16 million range. Early rumbles out of Philadelphia on Grimes' expected new deal. Restricted free agent. Projected to land a starting salary of at least $16 million after his monster March. Obviously had a great end to the season. So look, I do think at the end of the day, the Sixers will end up re-signing Quentin Grimes, right? Teams like the Nets, teams like the Pistons were a couple squads that we thought would be able to throw some offer sheets at Grimes and make things interesting for Philadelphia. At the current moment right now, there's really no one else out there. But keep an eye on this Josh Giddey situation, because it does make a lot of sense for Chicago. If they don't want to pay Giddey $30 million, they could save at least $10 million, right? By letting Josh Giddey walk, bringing in a player like Quentin Grimes, who, say what you will about the two players, I think they're pretty comparable in terms of their skill level at this point in their careers. Giddey can do probably a little bit more offensively. Grimes is a really good defender. Not going to split hairs there, but just know it's a realistic scenario where Giddey could leave and they could go after Quentin Grimes, make things difficult for Philadelphia. So, what happens if Grimes does sign elsewhere? If he ends up signing with Chicago, or for whatever reason the Sixers don't end up matching, if he's on another team, what can the Sixers do? Because, again, it's a possibility. I don't think it's likely he ends up not playing in Philadelphia next season, but it's something we have to at least discuss, right? Because there is a chance. Now, before we get to what Philadelphia can do if Grimes does look to sign elsewhere, got to tell you guys about this fantastic deal over at Fanatics on these Tyrese Maxey City Edition jerseys. First of all, I mean, these are just clean jerseys. I got myself a City Edition jersey as well earlier in the season. But right now, these Maxey ones, 50% off. That's right, 50% off. Marked down from $120 down to just $60. I know that these won't be the City Edition jerseys next year, but they're still clean, timeless jerseys for a player like Tyrese Maxey, who's going to be on this team for a long time. So you plug in the link, chatsports.com/Maxey50. It'll take you to Fanatics. You can get any size you want right now, but these are going to go fast because of this tremendous deal. So again, chatsports.com/Maxey50. I'll put that link in the comments and description of today's show, so you can go down there, click on it, take it to Fanatics, and take advantage of this fantastic deal. So, obviously, if Quentin Grimes signs elsewhere, the Sixers do have the ability to match whatever offer he gets. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, Philadelphia doesn't like the price he has signed with another team, and they're willing to let him go where he wants to go. I think that would be a disaster. We'll get to that in a minute. Couple options. Option one, Sixers could try to push for a sign and trade instead of just outright letting Grimes walk. That way they could get something in return for Grimes instead of losing him for nothing. Now, would a team like the Bulls, who are able to bring in Grimes in the mid-level, want to help out Philadelphia? It's, the Bulls don't have to do that. If another team needed to do that to make it work, then sure, but it's certainly a possibility. Again, a couple things make it very difficult, though. One, you have to get the team to agree to it. You got a team like Chicago might not want to help you out. Also, there's this weird NBA rule that I'm not going to try to explain in too much detail because it does get a little confusing. But just know, in sign-in trades with these restricted guys, it does apply to Grimes. Doesn't apply to every sign-in trade, but it does apply to Quentin Grimes here. The base year compensation rule. Basically, the Sixers can only take back in a sign-in trade half of whatever Grimes' salary ends up being. So say the new team wants to sign Grimes to a $20 million a year contract. That's his starting salary this season. Sixers can only take back $10 million in a trade. Got it? It's 50% of whatever the salary is. That complicates things. Now, with a team like Chicago, do have a couple players I could be interested in. If you do end up going to sign and trade, he makes around $20 million. Player like Jalen Smith, big man over there, could be expendable. There's been some talks of Ayo Dosunmu being on the trade market, and certainly if they bring in Quentin Grimes, I think that makes him a little bit more expendable. I like Ayo Dosunmu as a player. I think he'd fit very well on this team, but I'd just rather have Quentin Grimes. But again, as I mentioned, I don't think a sign and trade is too likely, especially with a team like Chicago, if they don't need to do that to make the money work, right? Why are they helping Philadelphia out? So if Grimes does just walk, Philly gets nothing for him, what can you do from there? Sixers would be able to use the mid-level exception. Now, we haven't really talked about them using the non-taxpayer exception because I've just kind of assumed they're going to re-sign Grimes. But when you look at the Sixers' financial situation right now, as they currently have 13 players on the roster, 2 more roster spots they can fill. A lot of times Daryl Morey likes to leave one spot open heading into the season. They're actually just below the luxury tax, just about $2 million below that luxury tax number. You can see they're about, what is that, $10 million, $9 million below the first apron, and then $20-ish million below the second apron. So they have some space as of right now, meaning if they wanted to, they do have that non-taxpayer mid-level available to their disposal. Now, really on the show so far, we've talked about only the tax mid-level, which is a lot cheaper, but always kind of figured the Sixers would be above that number. If Grimes does walk, they could use part of this non-tax mid-level, which is $14 million. But again, NBA rules kind of make things confusing because if you use more than the tax mid-level, so somewhere between 5.6 all the way up to the $14 million mark, you get hard capped at the first apron. But the Sixers are only $9 million, well, just about $10 million under the first apron. So they can't use the entire thing. So what kind of players could you sign using that 9.8 or less? Well, you take a look at some of the top available free agents. Of course, you got the restricted guys. We talked about Josh Giddey, Kuminga, Cam Thomas. I don't think any of those guys are real targets with Philadelphia at that price. Chris Paul could be interesting if you want a true point guard. Sixers don't really have a true point guard on their roster, but do you want to bring in an older veteran Chris Paul? Still had a pretty good season last year for the Spurs. I'm good on Al Horford. Don't want him back on this team. Seems like he's going to the Warriors or Lakers. We've talked a lot about Mo Wagner. I think at that $9-ish million mark, that'd be a great deal for him on a one-year deal. Rebuild his value after tearing his ACL last season. And a great option for him to come in and play big minutes at the center spot. And then we've talked about guys like Chris Boucher. Do you bring D'Anthony Melton back? Have the injuries really cooked him? Obviously had the back stuff. Tore his ACL with the Warriors last season, but still a decent player. I'm good on Russell Westbrook, and Malcolm Brogdon would be a good veteran guard as well. Dealt with his injury concerns. But when you look at a lot of the guys there, I think you can get a lot of them for cheaper than the about $9-10 million you'd be able to spend. Maybe outside of Chris Paul or Mo Wagner there. So there's not a whole lot of attractive options, basically, with the money you would open up by letting Grimes go, because we've now waited so long in free agency. And the longer you wait, the more guys are going to go off the board. So really, all of this is to say, if the Sixers do end up losing Quentin Grimes, even if they're able to get back something in a sign and trade or open up a little bit of money to sign a decent player, it's really an absolute disaster, because the main reason they let Guerschon Yabusele walk for so cheap to the New York Knicks, they got him on the non-tax or on the taxpayer mid-level at about $6 million a season over the next 2 years. The main reason they let him walk was to open up the money to sign Quentin Grimes and to ensure they could bring Grimes back. So if they lose Grimes and you lose Guerschon Yabusele, it's just poor planning, poor execution by Daryl Morey in this front office. But again, I fully expect Quentin Grimes to be back. I think it's only a matter of time, but things certainly could get ugly if he does end up going elsewhere. Predict it for me. Will Quentin Grimes play for the Sixers next year? Real simple. Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you're saying no, tell me what team you think he ends up going to. And of course, guys, be sure to hit that sub button. Sixers news, rumors every single day during free agency. Lock us in. Hit that sub button, and I hope you all enjoy your 4th of July weekend.